All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 509 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. And today, we're going to talk about the Falcons a little bit more. I know I just did a video on my YouTube channel discussing the Falcons when it comes to the last game of the season when they played the Buccaneers, but I want to really talk about this entire season. So we're going to grade the 2022-2023 season, give you my thoughts and opinions on pretty much each game. Not going to get into too much of each game because we'll be talking here all day, but I will give you my thoughts and opinions. And I think it'll make it a pretty decent show to evaluate and grade this entire season. If this is your first time here, welcome. I could be found on YouTube and Rumble. So if you're over there, give me a thumbs up, hit that like button, let people know what I'm doing over here. Also, I can be found on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. So if you want to listen to this show at your leisure, those are your avenues to do so. This show is brought to you by BetUS. Put $100 down, click that link down in the description. Put $100 down and you will be able to get a 125% bet book bonus. So you can put some wagers down on any of these playoff games coming up, any of the NBA games. You can find out what the lines are or who can do what and how many quarters or whatever the case may be, or who would just flat out win a game. You know, it doesn't have to just to be any of those. So you can bet on so many things: NBA, NFL, MMA, college football, all that other good stuff, esports, everything. So click that link down in the description, and we're going to get right into this show. The season started off with Marcus Mariota with being the starter. You know, we drafted Desmond Ridder. You know, we drafted Drake London. You already had Kyle Pitts on the, on the other side of the football, the other side of the receiving side of the field. So we thought it was going to have a pretty good offense. Cordell Patterson's returning. It was going to look good. First game of the season, you saw how that went down. We ended up losing to the Saints by 1. Then we almost beat the Rams we came back and almost beat the Rams. Then we was 0-2. Turned around, went on a 2-game winning streak, beat the Seahawks and the Browns. Then we almost beat the Buccaneers 15-21. We all know how that happened, which that game turned out to be very important for the end of the season with that roughing the passer call, which was absolutely terrible. But we ended up losing that game 15-21. This whole season was pretty much on an even keel, up and down. There was no runaway situation in this season, and in some cases, you look at the quarterback play, you really thought that, hey, if we get the quarterback play that we need to get, we'll be fine. And so we thought that we was going to start to get it up and running. We ended up beating the 49ers 28-14, which was a very impressive win, all things considering. Then we ended up losing to probably the most embarrassing game, well, one of the most embarrassing games we had when we played against the Buccaneers. The Bengals, 35-17. We had, that game was just the game that we couldn't have done nothing about that game. We go up against the Panthers, one of the wildest games, if not the wildest game of the season, when we beat the Panthers in overtime, 34-37. Then the Chargers game, when it was the fumble. Oh my God, we could have won that game, but we ended up, taking getting the ball and fumbling, going down the sideline. You know how that goes. 20-17. Then you turn around and you look at the Panthers. We played them again, which I feel this game was a 22-15 game, but they kicked the field goal with a few seconds left to make a 10-point game. That was the game when I was done with Mariota personally. I felt like I was done with them, but I knew nothing was going to change. Turn around. We ended up playing against the Bears. We beat the Bears, so there was a little bit of hope left. Lose to the Commanders on a goal line stance, basically, where the ball was tipped and intercepted, 13-19. Then we turned around and lose to the Steelers 19-16. And I think at that point, I really, the Commanders game, I was really, really done. Because I knew like this was it. I think I did a whole video about being done with him per se. But Desmond Ridder comes in, plays against the Saints with we end up losing that game 18-21. But Desmond Ridder showed a lot of promise. Turn around against the Ravens once again, only scored 9 points. The defense did their job, and I think defense did their job pretty much throughout this entire season, which we'll talk about that before the show's over. 17-9, we end up losing that game. And look, 17-9, Desmond Ridder played a little bit better, but I felt like there was a lot of missed opportunities in that game because you saw the chemistry between Desmond Ridder and Drake London. You start to see that. Falcons end up beating the Cardinals 19-20 in the next game, and that was a pretty good game. Game-winning drive, go downfield and win the game for the Falcons. Desmond Ridder gets his first win of the season, first comeback victory, and the first game-winning drive. So you couldn't beat that. That was a pretty good game right there for them. And the last game we just got finished talking about, when we talk about the Falcons versus the Buccaneers, 30-17. I say that this was probably one of the best games I've seen, even though the competition wasn't one or first string like everybody want. Like I'm gonna say everybody, it wasn't first string like a lot of people say it should have been. But you're dealing with rookies. Like I said, these guys are pretty much trying to get their feet settled in when it comes to the actual football or NFL professional football. So I talk mostly about offense on that. When I look at the defense, it's not much to say about the defense. The defense pretty much held their own for the most part. I really wish we would have got some more pass rush, but outside of that, I think the defense did okay, all things considering. I mean, there were points where I think it was, let me look, 1, 2, 3, I think 4. There was only 4 times this season that they allowed over 24 points. Maybe 5. So I think the defense did pretty good. I think just the offense was just so lackluster to the point where we just was not able to execute. We held the Buccaneers to 17 this last game. And like the prominent games that you really look at. The prominent games that you want to look at. We held the the Chargers to 20 points. We held the Bears to 24. Another game that was pretty, the Steelers, like all the games down the stretch, we held the teams down to under 20 points. You gotta understand that. The last 6 games of the season, we held the teams down to under 20 points. And that's what you want in a defense. I mean, you do that, you should be winning games. Before that, the Bears scored 24. Falcons scored, no, it's not Falcons. The Panthers scored 15. The Panthers scored 34, but that was an overtime and that was a win. The Chargers scored 20. So I think the defense collectively did pretty good, even though we lost Casey Hayward and the injury bug caught him, and we really were not able to have a cornerback number 2. You had Armstrong, Isaiah Oliver. You had a few people just step up and play pretty good. So I'm looking at this and like, it's all good. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. Now, I'm just gonna say this before I close this out. What I'll grade this team. After talking all that time, what do I grade them? Because I know a lot of people are probably asking. I give this season, I really give the season a C+. I think C+ is legit, maybe C-, but I'll say C+ because I think Marcus Mariota pretty much weighed this team down. And to be honest with you, it would be a B if they would have won the division. Because it was pretty sloppy play on offense, but what I talked about earlier about the Buccaneers game when we lost 21-15, that roughing the passing call, if we would have turned that game around and won that game, we would have won this division. So you're talking about between a C+ and a B, and I'm giving it a C+ because we had no business winning 7 games once again. Last year we won 7 games with literally no receivers. We had Russell Gage and Kyle Pitts, a rookie Kyle Pitts, which, like I said, it don't mean much now because he's it's just basically what it is. You had a rookie Kyle Pitts and a Russell Gage basically throwing the ball to throw the ball to. And this year, with the poor play, and I'll say this again, with the poor play of Marcus Mariota, we end up, losing a lot more games than we did. I think there was some stat out there saying that Mike Conti was saying that we like in 8 of the 10 games there was like 1 score or less or whatever the case may be. It was really weird, and I'm looking at the score. I'm looking at the scores right now, and I'm like, okay, 1 possession and 1 score games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 games were 6 points less. 13 games with 6 points less. So that's what I'm saying. These games could have swung wildly based on, one play here or there. So even with all that, these guys were able to pull up 7 wins. When in some cases said we were the worst team in the league and should have had 2. So you could make a case right there you can get a higher grade for that, but I feel like with how everything played out, the way the defense played, the way the offense played, the way the quarterback play was, even with Tyler Algier getting over 1,000 yards, congratulations to him. I feel like, and the player Desmond Ritter was actually pretty good. Even with that being said, I still give it a C+ because I felt like a lot of these one score games could have been flipped. If half of them was flipped, if half of these 1 point games were flipped, we would have had 12 or 13 wins. You know what I'm saying? So it's something to think about. So that's all I'm gonna leave it there. Let me know what you guys think. C+ for the Falcons, C+ for the Falcons, C+ for the Falcons. If you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this podcast. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button. Let people know what we're doing over here. Share this podcast. Let people know what we're doing over here. Click that link down in the description. Hit Bet US for Bet US and put that $100 down. Get a 125% bet book bonus. It helps the channel out. Hopefully, you guys will be able to follow me throughout this journey through the offseason because there's going to be a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about some Georgia Southern football. We got another quarterback on deck. We're going to be talking more Falcons. We got a lot of cap space and the draft is coming up. So hopefully you guys will follow, and I'll see you guys then, and I'll talk to you guys then. All right, y'all. Y'all take it easy, and y'all be blessed. Peace.